Still starting. We're live.
Hi, and welcome to our gift giving debate. I'm Tracy Dahl, and I will be your moderator and your starter this evening. I would like to take a moment to introduce our panel. And first we have our propositional side, Whitney.
Hi.
Ronald. And Afton.
Hello.
And we also have our oppositional side, Chelsea.
Hi.
Rita.
Hi.
Christina. Nope, not gonna...
Hi.
Oh, there you are. Okay, great. So as a starter, I'd like to start it off with our introductory statement. Research suggests that there are pros and cons of receiving and refusing gifts from our clients. As therapists, we're going to come up against this dilemma, most oftenly at holiday times as well as birthday, but throughout the year as well. And it's important for us to understand that the BACB Code of Ethics states in section 106D that we are under no circumstances allowed to accept gifts from our clients. However, when we're presenting this debate tonight, we would like to answer these questions. When is it ethical to accept a gift? Or is it ever ethical to accept a gift? In this debate, you'll hear from both sides of the argument. Our thesis statement is that accepting gifts from clients constitutes a multiple relationship, which means that the therapist has entered into a relationship that is both professional and personal with their client, which is against the Code of Ethics. But what constitutes a gift? It's important for us to go over this as well in our debate. And is it possible that by not accepting a gift, we will offend someone or impede the therapeutic process? These are the things that we intend to prove. And we'd like to say that we believe that acceptance of a gift is at the discretion of the therapist themselves. So tonight, our first key point will be handled by Whitney.
Hi, thank you, Tracy. Is there a divide created by not accepting a gift? I definitely think that is a threat, because for effective practice, I think it's so important that therapists and their clients, establish a friendly and open, just a very trusting relationship for therapeutic services to be the most beneficial. And so I think it's very important. And as Blanco and Sheely Moore stated, the better off the therapeutic services is if the establishment is as soon as possible. And so that way the clients are able to freely make their own decisions. And that would include gift giving, or obviously not monetary value, but just like what a client thinks is okay. My next point is, the Code of Ethics 1.05 is the discrimination. It forbids us to discriminate against groups, culturals, diversity, race, ethnicity, all of that. And so denying a gift from someone from a different culture, could easily be misunderstood, misrepresented. It could create a divide, because you could be considered rude, or just like it could be it could create a divide that way. My next point of how a divide could be created with gift giving is with children. They don't always understand why aren't you, like if I would deny accepting a gift, my client might not always understand. I'm not doing it because I don't want your gift, or I don't like what you got me or made me. I'm doing it because it's, ethics. And so even though it's so important to establish your rules early on with parents, and what that gift giving is not okay. If a child were to make you a homemade card, I have examples, or even to just bring you an extra snack, something like that, because they thought of you. They don't understand that you're not accepting it because of our job, you're just accepting it because it's a reflection of them, which is not the case, you know. So that also can affect treatment for sure. And my final and in my opinion, most important point is if a client is working on sharing or understanding social cues or reciprocal relationships, things like that, where, you know, you might demonstrate what gift giving looks like, and not even gift giving in the sense of an actual, you know, physical huge, here's a birthday present, but just like gift giving of like, I thought of you, I drew this picture for you, or something like that, I held the door for you, you know, something just like social cues, thank you for doing that for me, this and that. And then so then on their own, the child would develop, you know, we've been working on this skill, and so on their own they would decide that they wanted to give me, their therapist, a gift to show how good of a friend they are. Me denying that could be extremely detrimental to the therapy and the work and the implementation that we, you know, just established. That would just destroy everything we worked for. So I do believe there are certain cases where it is, you know, it's important to decide where really what's the intent, and how it could really affect the child and the therapy if it were denied. Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks very much, Whitney. I think you gave some incredibly good points about how we don't want to discriminate against anyone based on their individuality as a group, their cultural backgrounds, but also you made a very good point about how not accepting a gift can impede upon our therapeutic relationship and the progress we're making in therapy. We're now going to hear from Chelsea on the oppositional side of this. Chelsea.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. You made some really great points, Whitney. So to answer the question, is a divide created by not accepting a gift? No, but I think in order for it to be a no, there have to be boundaries that are set from the beginning. The article by Brown and Transford define boundaries as marked limits, rules, or parameters of an ethical practice. So in English, pretty much I would say that means that boundaries are certain rules and limits set by the therapist so that they do not breach on their ethical standards. I think it's important to do this from the very beginning, just to set boundaries so that you provide a safe environment for your client and a safe environment for yourself. In order to do this, by doing this, I think you set up a friendly and a safe environment for you and your client. Whitney, to touch on your point of where you stated the BCBA Ethics Code 1.5e, if the client is from a different background where they're culturally giving a gift is a great sign of gratitude, then by following the Code of Ethics, we should accept that gift. But also, I feel it's important that we state that that is not always the case. And it's BCBA Code of Ethics 1.06 Section D that says that a behavior analyst cannot accept any gifts in any form from clients or give gifts to clients because this could form a multiple relationship. Also, another code, the other code I'd like to state is 1.06 Section E that says behavior analysts need to recognize and inform clients about these codes to prevent potential harmful effects or multiple relationships. I think the time to do this would be in the very beginning when you're setting up the boundaries with your clients, just so it's open and honest and you can move forward in a friendly and have a successful relationship. Your final point, Whitney, with children, I think that if you're doing an intervention with a child where you're working on gift giving, then by no means should you neglect a gift from them, because we wouldn't want to do anything that would negatively affect the intervention. But I also think it's important to, in the beginning, when you're setting the boundaries with the parents, to also work on setting the boundaries with the child at that time. And just be upfront and open and honest with them and let them know that, you know, personally, my personal ethics, I would love to accept your gift, but as a professional, it is against my code of ethics to accept a gift at this time. But then again, as you stated, there were some exceptions to that gift, but there are some big no-nos when accepting a gift, and I made some visuals. One of those is gifts of monetary value. If a gift is of any monetary value, especially a large amount of monetary value, then we shouldn't be accepting that gift. Another thing to consider is if you're getting multiple presents, if a client is giving you many, many presents and there's really no reason why, that's kind of something to raise a red flag because the client might be trying to form some multiple relationships. Finally, another thing to consider when thinking about receiving a gift is the timing of the gift. If the client is providing you a gift at the end of treatment, when treatment's terminated, that could be a time to start to consider to possibly accept the gift. But if it's in the beginning of the treatment hasn't even started, and the client's already presenting you with a gift, that's a time to think about, okay, maybe they might be trying to form a multiple relationship, and this could affect me in a negative way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chelsea. I think both you and Whitney made some great points, both sides of the argument. I especially liked, Chelsea, where you did note that the code of ethics is to protect us and to create a safe environment, and boundaries are important in that. But I do think in order to answer our questions that we put forth in the beginning of the debate, that we still need to hear some more information. And on this, we're now going to hear from Afton.
All right, thank you, Tracy. It may be considered offensive for a BCBA to not accept gifts from a client, parent, and or guardian. It is important that a BCBA develop and maintain positive relationships when providing services. The parent and or guardian play an important role within the team to help provide services that are effective. When I was doing my research, I came across an interesting statement that was Freud was known to accept gifts from clients as well as their families when providing interventions for children as well as adults. To reiterate what Whitney has stated previously, not accepting a gift from a parent and our guardian. Not accepting a gift from a parent and our guardian can be discrimination within their culture. It is considered disrespectful if you do not accept a gift, especially during the holidays. This could potentially alienate your relationship that has been established with the parent and or guardian. As behavior analysts, it is our duty to respect the individuals we serve, culture as well as their family's culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Afton. I think you made a really good argument that backed up Whitney. And I think that it's important to remember that we don't want to offend anyone, and it can become a personal affront to a person's culture if that we don't accept a gift. We're now going to hear from Frida on the oppositional side of this argument. Frida?
Hi, everyone. Chelsea did a wonderful job of bringing up the Code of Ethics 106D. However, it is stated under no consequences behavior analysis do not accept gifts from or give any gifts to any clients. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. That multiple relationship must be avoided. I'm sorry. That multiple relationship must be avoided by behavior analysis at all time. My second point is, I come across this article. It says from Mayor and Pines. The article entitled "Psychology of Gift Exchange." When therapists accept gifts or from clients, it creates transitions. it creates tension. I'm sorry, it creates tension and constitutes implicit. Stop.
You got this.
I got this. I got this. A therapist accepts gifts from clients that creates tension that constitute an implicit regulation dependence on giver and obligation to repay. What does that mean? That when a client give a therapist a gift, it's always some kind of expectations. They always want something in returns. It depends on the value of the gifts. If the gift is worth, let's say it's a $500 gift, what does that gift mean to him by giving it to you? It has some meanings to it. So my third point is that some therapists that suggest is that accepting gift from a client with a process. Glover and Hender stated that when receiving a gift from a client, it expect to receive something, like I said before. They actually they want something in return. It creates situation and tension that it creates some kind of issue with the treatment process. For example, well, like I said before, by going to a client church, by going to a client of child graduation, by joining any type of activities with a client, for example, giving a hugs after a difficult session paved the way of multiple relationship and boundary violation by Corey Corey. Thank you, guys.
Good job very much, Frida. You did a good job. I like your point of view where you state that accepting a gift creates a multiple relationship among client and therapist. However, we also need to know whether that will impede the progress of the therapy, and that's something very important to think of as therapists. Our next debaters will now be Reynald, who will sum up this time. Reynald.
Thank you, Tracy. When talking about giving and receiving gift in therapy, there is an important question that comes up. And this question is, how do we, as behavior analysts, account for social differences and cultural competency? First thing that I want to say is that behavior analysts have an obligation to develop cultural competency when dealing with an ethical dilemma such as given behavior from clients. According to Quas, cultural competency is a set of behavior, attitudes, and policies that enable a professional to work in cross-cultural situations. It's a set of congruent behavior. The word congruent means that what behavior analysts do and what they say are in harmony, and their actions are in harmony. They don't say one thing and then they do something else. So cultural competency is very, very important. It is important because it helps behavior analysts to be it helps behavior analysts to do a better management of ethical dilemmas such as giving and receiving gift. And then the U.S. Department of Health and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services points out two other important points that underline the reason why cultural competency is important. It helps reduce disparity in access to services, and then it helps improve the quality of service to diverse populations in behavioral settings. Now, the most important question is now, how can behavior analysts cultivate or develop this cultural sensitivity or cultural competency? The Association for Behavior Analysts International, in its diversity policy, state that the association seeks to be an organization comprised of people of different ages, genders, nationalities, sexual orientation, and so on. And from this policy, I underline two important attitudes that behavior analysts should display when providing service. First, behavior analysts accept differences. They accept that people have the right to be different, and they see the difference as a good thing that deserves to be celebrated. And second, behavior analysts, they oppose unfair discrimination. That means they support diversity, ages, race, nationalities, the different ethnic groups, religion, sexual orientation, and so on. And the board certified behavior analyst in its professional and ethical compliance code, it supports cultural competency too. And when we look at the code 105, it says that behavior analysts are urged to use language that individual they serve can fully understand. I mean, as a behavior analyst, we have the obligation to express ourselves in a way that our persons will be able to understand. We have to avoid using technical terms because as behavior analysts, we have a jargon in our science, you know, and we have, if we're talking to our parents or we're talking to a client and we use word like non-contingent, reinforcement, they won't be able to understand. It's very important to explain them everything and make sure they understand. So we can avoid ethical dilemmas such as clients offering us a gift. In code 105D, it states that behavior analysts do not engage in discrimination against individual or groups they work, or not receiving a gift can send this message to the clients. You know, if you don't
ask you to wrap it up as we are running close to time on your argument.
Exactly. So I was saying that cultural competency is something that is very important in this case. I understand that the code said that we should not, as behavior analysts, receive gift, but it is very important to be culturally sensitive because if we're not, so we can mess up the whole therapeutic process. Thank you very much, Tracy.
Thank you. I have to say that you really covered cultural competency very well, and coming from you, it's very important because of your background to know that there are diverse populations, and it's very important as therapists that we see that. I'd like to hear now what Kashina has to say on the oppositional side. Kashina? Kashina, you're going in and out.
Yes, we can. She can recall in, and we'll just take over. Sorry about the technical difficulties, guys. I'm gonna pick up for her.
Good.
Oh, she's back.
Kashina, go ahead. See if we can hear you.
She's frozen.
Kashina, if you could you please call out and then call back in?
Okay.
Go ahead, Whitney.
All right. Kashina's points were, as Frida had brought up earlier, in the 1.06 behavior analysts aren't allowed to accept any of these gifts. And so we should prepare the environment by making a clear and very concise policy about gift giving to new clients, and so that everyone's on the same page always. I
think Kushina's back now. Let's see if she can jump in on this. Kushina?
Okay, hello?
You can go to
Yes?
point 2, Kushina, if you would like.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Whitney has covered point 1. If you could cover from point 2 on.
Okay, so in point 2, I read an online article and it gave us like 3 alternative ways that we can accept gifts or deal with gift giving when it comes to our clients. And one of them were like, first of all, we need to set in stance that we as CBAs, we need to be very proactive. And so what they mean by being proactive is letting them know from the beginning that this is our rules, these are our ethics, and we can't accept gifts. And then the second alternative was to offer them a printable card. And with the printable card, it would say like, well, you know, we have our ethical code and we can't accept it, but thank you anyway. And with that, it's not being rude, and it's kind of like finding a funny way to kind of like break the eggshells when it comes to not being able to accept gifts. And the third alternative was to offer them an alternative, like I mentioned in an email, where every day after we provide them services, they can send us gratitude if they choose to. And it's only, you know, it's up to them as the individual. What else? So within that point, I also pointed out that expressing gratitude doesn't have to be a material item. It can be a simple thank you, or those things that I just mentioned. It can be those things. And to tie it all in, it's like the best thing to do when it comes to gift giving is finding a respectable and mannerable way to say that you can't accept it, so that we don't want to offend anyone culturally. So we need to find a nice and acceptable way to turn down the gift, and not be rude, like, oh, you know, I can't accept it and we went over X, Y, and Z. Just finding alternatives and nicer ways to express that we are happy that you want to give us a gift, but in the end, we really can't accept the gift. And to tie it all in, we need to make it clear that us as professionals have guidelines to follow. And I feel that the best way accepting gifts can get out of hand. I mean, accepting gifts can get out of hand, and it can ruin the client and a clinician relationship. So the best way is to just not accept the gift and to keep our codes in place and currently, what do I want to say? Remind them of our code so that they won't feel like we're being rude. Thank you.
Thank you. And on that, I have a quick visual, a little handout that you can give to a poem that says why we can't accept gifts, as well as a thank you board where we can post kudos and thank yous to our therapist instead of gift giving. Now we're going to hear from Reynald as he sums up what the Code of Ethics does state. Reynald?
Thank you, Tracy. How does refusing gift impact the client, or not receiving gift impact the client? Because according to Spindler and others, client may feel misunderstood, rebuffed, hurt, and affected in their self-esteem. That means, depending on the client's culture, not receiving a gift may impact the client negatively. For example, in Haiti, where I'm from, refusing to accept a gift is the greatest shame you can inflict on somebody who take the time to spend money to choose a gift for you. Okay, and then Tracy, not Tracy, but Whitney brought that up at the beginning of our presentation when she said that if a client has great difficulty in giving anything, and then that client can make a small gift to the behavior therapist, to the behavior analyst, it would be a very great mistake to turn this gift down, especially if the behavior of concern is to increase that person's serve behavior of sharing. Okay, so and then some other therapists, like I'll agree that when you accept a gift from a client, you promote the client self-acceptance, and you help the client to increase his self-esteem. And according to a research conducted in Puerto Rico with 75 Puerto Rican psychotherapists, 75 of the therapists think that it is appropriate to accept a small and symbolic gift if given at the end of the therapy process. And 88 would accept a small gift if it comes from a child. And this is very important here, because how you as a therapist, you're going to explain to a child that the codes of ethics of board certified behavior analysts is against receiving gift from patient. It's going to be very difficult to explain that to a child. The reason why I also think that if a child make a small and symbolic gift to the therapist, it would be hard to the child. It would be unbearable for the child.
Reynald, I'm going to have to interrupt you. We need to move on now to Frida. So thank you. And I think you made a really great point about the Code of Ethics and what it states and your position. Now on to Frida. Frida, sum it up for us.
Thank you, Renaud. In the book of Applied Behavior Analysis by Cooper and Al argues that under no circumstances therapist should accept gift by any means. It also says that remember to address the 3 fundamental questions before to do the right things: is what is right things to do, and what's worth doing, and what does it mean to be a good behavior analysis. I'm going to go through that briefly because we're running out of time. The right thing to do is always what the ethical code says. And what's worth doing, is always do what the ethical says and do the right thing at all time. What does it mean to be a good behavior analysis? It said that a good behavior analysis requires more than just following professional codes. Through it all, a good behavior analysis gives priority to the welfare of his or her clients at all times to avoid engaging of action that goes to opposite side. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone. Thank you for your position. I think that we still agree that we think as a group that to accept gifts is at the discretion of the therapist. And it also includes thinking about how it's going to affect our clients and our clients' progress in therapy. We were given some questions by Professor DeBoard to answer, and we're going to answer them as a group. The first question is, given that there are a lot of things to consider, what factors make you decide to accept a gift and how you're going to do it? Who would like to chime in on that?
So I will. We talked a lot about how not accepting a gift can be discrimination within someone's culture. I believe this would be a value reason to consider to accept a gift. Like said before, it is our obligation as behavior analysts to respect an individual's culture and beliefs.
Awesome. I agree with that as well. When it's therapeutic and is definitely necessary for the services, I think that's definitely, and it's not a large monetary value, that's definitely a reason to consider accepting a gift.
I also agree, and I think a lot of it also has to do with if we are treating a patient that is getting an intervention that includes learning how to share, then that's a very important point so that we don't impede the progress of that intervention. Our second question was, let's say you are supervising a new BCA BA who was going to be given a gift by a client. Please describe the process that you would use to help them decide to accept or not accept the gift. Who would like to chime in on that?
I will.
Great, Chelsea.
Okay, so if I was working with a new BCBA and we were trying to figure out whether or not to accept a gift or not, what I would do would be look over the code of ethics and see where it falls within the code. If it falls within the code of 1.05 with the diversity and culture, then we could decide to accept the gift. But if it fell somewhere else, if it was not in 1.05 and fell in 1.06, then we would have to make the professional decision to not accept the gift at that time. Thank you.
Awesome. I think we covered our questions as well as the pros and cons. And I still think that we have decided as a group that, again, our thesis statement of when to accept a gift, it's definitely at the discretion of the therapist. And there are a lot of things to consider. Thank you to all our presenters this evening, to Afton, to Chelsea, to Frida, to Ray, to Kashina, and to Whitney, and from myself. Thanks very much for watching our debate, and we hope that it raised some questions if you're ever up against this dilemma yourself. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.